Hey, time for our day 9 debrief. Got some big stuff today. Um, Dally's come to check on them. They go to Dairy Queen, eat incredible amounts of food. He's catching them up on the war between the Socias and Greasers and all that's going on, and talks about the rumble that's coming up, and that they have a spy. And Of course, the Johnny and Pony are very surprised about that, but it kind of makes sense in context. And As Ponyboy is thinking about this, he realizes it's not Cherry the Soch that is the spy. It's Cherry the Dreamer, the one who likes sunsets and hates fighting. So he, even as he struggles with the two sides of himself, the sensitive side of him that loves poetry and does well in school, and the tough side who wants to fit in with the guys and stick up for his buddies. He sees in her there's two sides to her. I think that's important, and it's part of the characterization that he was able to see that she wasn't just what she appeared to be, that she had some depth to her, which was part of why they had those conversations, clearly setting off this part of the plot. And the conflict with Bob and all of that stuff was important too. But that conversation, the two people who were somewhat out of step with their social groups meeting, was important. Um, Dally mentions, because things are so tense, that he's carrying a heater. That's a gun. And you see that Ponyboy is quite alarmed because that's something you use to kill people. It's serious. It causes trouble. They remember earlier. Two Bit had a speech about how just fighting. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when you use the serious stuff that things get bad. Well, here we find out Dally's carrying a gun with him, not loaded. He just likes to use it to bluff. But you remember early on, Ponyboy just kind of mentioned to us that Johnny carried a blade because he didn't ever want to be roughed up again. And that turned out to be a really important point. So I have to ask you, do you think the author let us know that Dally's carrying a heater because that's going to be important later? There it is for you to decide. And then Johnny shocks his role model and idol by saying, "We're going to go back and turn ourselves in." Remember, we've been seeing these signs that Johnny is, becoming more decisive. He takes the lead with Ponyboy as they're hiding out, and just seems surer of himself than he has before in the story. And Dally, of course, just can't make any sense about this. And we get that one brief. I mean, it was a really neat scene. And Ponyboy is, you can kind of see his head exploding because Dally's never weak. He never shows any cracks. But here he's thinking about this boy that he cares for. I mean, in his own very rough way, but wants to protect. And he's thinking about what jail did to him, what being on the streets did to him. And Ponyboy finally sees Dally as more than just a stone cold hood. We see that there's some humanity in there. There's a person who maybe isn't super happy about how his life turned out, and his only choice was to be hard and mean. It's interesting to think about. Do mean people decide to be that way, or are they formed in some way? Did Dally want to be like that? He certainly doesn't want Johnny to end up like that. And then, oh my goodness, as if there wasn't enough heartbreak, Johnny asking, "Well, did my parents ask about me? Are they worried about me?" And Dally tries to kind of change the subject. And then finally he has to say, "No, they haven't said a word." I mean, just try to wrap your mind around your parents caring so little for you that you disappear and they don't even ask where you are. They don't notice, they don't care. I mean, we knew that he would sometimes spend the night out in the field or hang out with the guys. And, his parents didn't really notice when he came in and went out, but missing for days, mixed up in a possible murder, and they don't even so much as say, "Gosh, where's Johnny?" That's pretty painful. And then, of course, there's a like this instant, complete change in what's going on because the church is on fire. And we're not talking about, the Bob or the Socias or anything. It kind of narrows down to just this moment. There's kids in there. The boys think maybe they started the fire because they had cigarettes in there, and both respond with no fear at all. They just suddenly jump in there. Johnny's taking charge again. And you see that interesting comment from Ponyboy. He's observing in that moment, one, that he himself is acting without fear, but also that Johnny just seems completely free of all of the fear that he's carried throughout the story and throughout the time that Ponyboy has known him. And he says he looks like he's having the time of his life as embers are raining down and they're facing possible death trying to rescue these kids. That's a really interesting description, and has to be very meaningful. So Ponyboy blanks out as Dally clubs him on the back. We don't know how it ended. Johnny screamed. What does that mean? Why did Dally club Ponyboy? What happened with the kids? How does this change things? With them turning themselves in. There's a lot coming up, but this is really big, you can tell. So think about what you think is the outcome of all this and what happens next. And I'll see you again soon.